Okay, scholars, good morning.
Good morning.
Come on, one more time. Good morning, scholars.
Good morning.
You all look great. It's so good to see you. As you know, I'm Xavier, your PM. I am so happy today to introduce an amazing architect turned entrepreneur. Gloria started off as an entrepreneur, working, graduating from school as an architect, but now she is helping people design the blueprint for their lives. She is a leadership coach with the John Maxwell Institute and also the founder of Flourish Within. She's an amazing leader, and I'm super excited and stoked to have you hear from her, learn from her, and hopefully by the end of today, definitely by the end of today, grow. Give it up for none other than Gloria Florexil.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me and welcoming me. This is such an amazing university to be a part of. And as Jane was telling me, he's giving me the tour, telling me that this is the Impact Lab. And I'm like, oh, I actually feel like I'm in a lab because when Sarika closed the door, so I'm really excited to be here. And when James first reached out to me, he invited me to come in to speak and share my story. I said, you know what? I want to teach you guys something. I don't just want to come here and talk about entrepreneurship, the goals, raising money, doing all the things, but I want to give you the blueprint that you can take and achieve whatever goal that you have. This is something that I do a lot with the executives that I get to work with. And I hope that today you'll get to leave this session and you'll have a lot. So a little bit about me. I am a positive psychology, personal and executive coach. I am part of the John Maxwell leadership team. This is me and Papa John over here. I'm also the founder of Flourish Within and 490 Park, which is a co-working space. And one of the things that I absolutely love doing is the DISC behavioral assessments, because I believe once you truly know yourself, you know how to grow. And in order to achieve any goals or any dreams that you have, where you are and where you want to be, you have to know how to close that growth gaps. And that's what we call them. That's the scientific term to getting to where you want to be. So today, what is your dream and will you achieve it in your lifetime? How many of you here have a dream? Okay, quite a bit. And have you started working towards that? Okay, exciting. Well, wow, the pressure's on. So, a lot of the time when you think about a dream, right? Usually if you look up the definition of a dream, it's typically it's usually something out of the norm, something crazy. But I want to give you a new definition today. And I think if you start to see it differently, it will energize you and it will give you a way to, it just will attach you even more to the goals that you're trying to achieve. So a dream is an inspiring picture of the future that energizes you. It energizes your mind, your will, and your emotions. How many of you have already started working towards the dream that you have, the goal, the business, the idea you have? And would you say that it energizes you? It does. And that's very important. Now, if it doesn't, then it's not the dream for you. And today, I really want for you guys to understand just how do you reach that specific dream? Because not too long ago, I was sitting in a room with a lot of executives. I work with a lot of executives. I work with people who want to start their own business. I work with leaders who bring me into their organization because they want to shift a direction. They want to maybe bring someone else to a leadership position. And in that room, they did an assessment and they asked, this was a very accomplished individuals, and they asked them, how many of them had a dream? Just like here, it was 100% of the people said that they had a dream. And then they asked how many of them had achieved this dream, and many of them said they haven't achieved it. 50% said they have not yet achieved it, but 25% of them said that they gave up on that dream. And that's something to really think about, because right here, this is where your mind gets so inspired. You have so many ideas. And that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen later on, but this is the time that you really get to really go after the things that you want. And here are the things that you're going to have to think about, right? Failing to identify your dream. It's the number one thing that you want to do. Because if you fail to identify, then you don't know where you want to go. Think about bowling. How many of you have been bowling before, right? You only bowl because we have the pins that are at the end. Now, if you remove the pins, what's the goal here, right? You don't know, like, you're gonna reset, you'll start again. Bowling with the pins at the end, it gives you, that's your finish line, right? And even when you don't reach it, you get back up. You know, okay, well, I didn't get a strike. I only had one. I need to keep on going because the goal is to knock everything down. So that's basically how you want to see your dream. So first is by identifying your dream. The other common factor that people do not reach their dream is the disappointment. They get discouraged, settling, lack of confidence, lack of imagination. And those things are very important. Next. Now, so we've identified, I want to talk to you about, so there's 10 steps to really conquering your dream. We have ownership, clarity, the reality, passion, which a lot of you said that you had, the pathway, people, cost, tenacity, fulfillment, and significance. Significance is where you get to make an impact. You have to go through all of this in order to get there. Are you guys with me? Yes. So the first step is ownership, right? Are you living the dream? Are you living your dream or the dream that someone else has of you? How many of you are from a different country? Quite a bit. So I'm from Haiti. And in Haiti, typically your family picks your profession. They just tell you, you're going to be this. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be an architect. And I grew up hearing that I was going to be an architect. How many of you grew up with parents telling you that you're going to do this? Okay, where are you from?
I'm from Florida.
Okay. Yes. Okay, that's very common.
Well, my parents immigrated from India. I was born in Maryland.
Very common. I have some Indian parents, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's common. So I always wanted to be, but my parents wanted me to be, I didn't want to disappoint them. And that's how I started in my career. My parents I grew up with parents who had an architecture firm, they had a construction business. I never questioned it. It was almost programmed into me. So first I went to architecture school at FIU. I studied for 8 years. I went through the whole thing, studied my master's, landscape architecture, won awards. This was for my thesis. I had to travel to New Mexico and you had to study the soil, take samples. I mean, all the things that you can think of. My parents were so excited. They built me an entire architecture studio at home. It was like a different, separation from the house. But there was something lacking, right? Throughout this entire journey of being in school, I was never really motivated. The motivation was not disappointing my parents. So I did my homework since they paid for the school. You don't want to be Caribbean and not achieve what you were sent to achieve. But something was truly lacking. I didn't have passion. I didn't have fulfillment. Nothing. I didn't own the dream. Everything was because someone else told me. You can't really make an impact this way, can you? And I heard this statement. There are two kinds of talents, man-made talents and God-given talents. With man-made talents, you have to work very hard. With God-given talent, you just have to touch it up once in a while. And this statement takes me back because through architecture school, gosh, I had to work so hard. I had to put in so many hours. It's like somebody was pulling me through, right? Gloria, this assignment is due. It took me 11 hours to just come up with a floor plan for something. And I just dreaded the whole process. Meanwhile, right, when I decided it just wasn't for me and I had the courage to just walk away from it after all these years, entrepreneurship just became, it was like a new me, right? I became so passionate about, I didn't even know what I was passionate about because all I knew was architecture and that's all I ever did from the time I was in middle school. So first, I started taking classes. I started getting myself into so many different business ventures. I just wanted to be, I quit my job as an architect and I started working with as an executive assistant. I just wanted to be near people who were successful. I always liked psychology, but I knew I didn't want to be a therapist. That I knew. I'm like, no, that's depressing. I didn't want anything to do about it, which is why I then discovered positive psychology, which is the study of human flourishing, which is why I do what I do today. I want to know, I was curious, what makes someone successful? How do people achieve their dreams, right? So I started enrolling in classes. I invested in a mentor. I had no money and I called my dad. I said, Dad, I'm going to start something. I need money. Can you pay for me to take this class? Absolutely not. So he's like, no, I already paid for your school. You have an education, work in your career. So then I worked and I got on a payment plan with Nicole Walters. If you know about her, she's like on Forbes. She's the woman of business. And she teaches you how to monetize your skills. So I got on a payment plan while I work with Nicole to be able to learn from her, to figure out what is there? Why am I so attracted and so pulled to be an entrepreneur and to do my own thing? Next, networking and building connections. That was big. I was always looking online. Where can I meet people? What are the networking groups that are happening in the community? I was on meetups and Eventbrite and just all the things. Facebook was a thing back then. Just seeing what are people up to. Just wanting to connect with other people. That was really big. Sorry. A defining moment. I remember while I was being mentored by Nicole Walter at the time, and through that people just noticed something was different about me. Just the fact that I love talking to people. I love helping people achieve whatever it was. There was a girl, we had this group and she said, Gloria, you remind me of Valerie Burton. She's a coach. And I said, well, I don't know what that is, but I'll figure it out because it sounded so amazing. And Valerie at the time was always on TV, but I've never seen her. And I took the class with Valerie. It was a training for positive psychology and getting your feet, figuring out if coaching really is the thing for you. And then I'm like, okay, well, I took the class. They said I have to coach. And I found a girl, she wanted to be coached by me. And I'm like, great. And she wanted to pay me. And I'm like, well, okay. After training, I was quite new. And her name was Ileana. And I got to coach her through starting her business. She was a mom. She was a single mother. She lived in the DR. She had moved there because her life she had so much hardship after a divorce in the US. So she moved back home in order to figure out what she was going to do with her life. So I met her and I got to coach her. And her first assignment was this. And she did it and sent me a picture. And now she's incredibly successful. She lives in Austin, Texas, but she was my first coaching client. And that was a moment that I knew this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I wanted to help other people achieve their dreams and achieve their goals. So now I ask myself again, the first step is the ownership. Is the dream really my dream? It was my dream. I finally had found something that I was passionate about. And that's really important when you're going into whatever you want to accomplish. It has to be yours. That's the first step. Because if it's not going to pull you forward, especially when adversity comes, because it will. And that's when I founded my company, Flourish Within, nurturing growth to cultivate success. And in Flourish, the thing that's really important to me is helping people make an impact. I don't just want to work with leaders who are all about themselves. I want to work with individuals who want to make an impact in the world, who want to make an impact in their communities. As you can see, discover their purpose and make a lasting impact. The second is clarity. Do I see my dream clearly? When you close your eyes, you have to be able to see the dream. You have to be able to see whatever. If you want to disrupt the fashion industry, you have to own it, but you have to be able to see how are you going to. You might not know all the nooks and crannies and details because it's hard to know in entrepreneurship how you're going to get there, but you have to see, okay, the ending. What does that look like? That's really important. And with Flourish, I always knew it's not just about coaching people, but I always wanted to have a physical space that I can invite people in, that I can add value. I wanted not just people to have access to me, but I wanted to be able to stand in a space where they have access, because it was important for me to put people in an environment that allows them to reach their goal. It's easy when you're working at home to get discouraged, but let's say when you come here, Xavier told me that some of the students live here because they just want to be in the space because it inspires you, it pulls you forward. You can look left and right and see other people working, which is why I had the dream of 490 Park. The first time I stepped into the space, I knew, I was like, this is the spot. We want a co-working space there. And not just a space because it was like, oh, let's do business or anything. But it was truly because I wanted to have a space where I could bring people together, where they could work collaboratively on their own separate businesses or ideas, and they could work towards reaching that goal. Now, am I depending on factors within my control to achieve this dream? The reality question. That's really important because a lot of the time, you will depend on other factors to achieve your dream, but you have to start. You can't just sit back and say, well, I'm waiting for this to happen, or how many times I'm waiting for things to be perfect, and I'm waiting for, the right time. No, just jump at it and just go for it. And that's 490 Park. When we came together, it's so funny how 490 Park came together because I stood in the space and he was a client of mine. I was working with him and he had the space, it was there. And the first time I was standing there, I saw a room filled with people working, laughing. It was diverse. People were happy. I could see it. And our grand opening was just that. I went home to my sister. My sister has a fear of missing out. So you have to be very strategic when you invite her to something. And I said, hey, I'm launching a co-working space and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be very inclusive and very diverse. You're going to miss out. And I walked out the door and she's like, wait a minute, you need me. Just like, you need me. You can't do this without me. I want in. I don't know, but I want in. And Anuela then came with us. And it happened. And a lot of people ask us, like, how did you guys make it happen? Honestly, it was a lot of hard work. But at the core, the three of us, we were passionate about the same thing. We were passionate about community, adding value to our community. Doers, we were passionate about entrepreneurship, business, being innovators and creators. Now, I have my own practice. Saida is the founder and CEO of a technology company, and Anuela has her own company. She has, it's a nonprofit organization. They redesign green spaces and do a lot of education on that. And there was so many things that could keep us from coming together and making this something that was possible, because one, we all had separate lives. We all had our own businesses, but just like I had a dream and I saw it, each of them, when we came together, they all always wanted to be able to create a space that would nurture entrepreneurs and be the place where it would be the birth of their dreams. That's really passionate. My sister, in fact, was a student right there, just like all of you. Now, thus my dream compels me to follow it. The passion. Without passion, there is no energy. Show me someone that just walks around like this. They have no passion in life. And it's like when I was in architecture, oh gosh, I was such a drag. I don't know how I ever made friends because I complained about everything. Now, if you are someone who is passionate about what you do, it's true. You don't work a day in your life. You're constantly talking about what you're doing. How many of you find yourself? You're constantly talking. You can't sleep. You can't even eat. My fiance is on the back. You're taking pictures. He's always reminding me to stop and eat. I can't sleep. I can't eat because I just want to work. I want to help people. When things get hard, passion is what keeps you going. And throughout, as we're coming together, we're building the co-working space. There are so many reasons to quit. We were busy. We had our business. We had to give up so much. We had an investor that was just pain, just the pain. And one, you're dealing with rules and regulations. You're dealing with construction, and it's not an easy thing with timeline and cost, money. We had pretty much no budget to build this, but the passion kept us going. Saida would quit. One of us was ready to quit every day. Every day, it's like, I'm not gonna be here. I'm quitting. I can't do this. But we had passion. It's like, we are doing this for the community. And there was a time my sister was like, why am I doing this? It's not a profit for me. There is no profit. And she's very businessy, And she's like, you know what? I have to come back. Our community needs this. She said, Black girls, brown girls, they need a space where they feel welcomed, where it's not, hey, we'll show you on the front as just to show diversity, but truly, let's help you build your business. That was her passion. And that kept us going. This was us opening day. You could see we were exhausted, but excited. The pathway. Do you have a strategy to reach your dream? That's really important. You need a first step. What is going to be your first step? There is no such thing as unintentional strategy. You can't say, well, I have a goal. I want to have this business. I want to have this business, but I have no strategy. Just going to sit back and watch Netflix for hours and it'll just come to me. Doesn't happen. You have to sit pen and paper and you figure it out. You need the strategy to achieve your dream. It's the same thing with the bowling, right? When you have the pin at the end, you need a strategy. How are you going to hit that strike? And when you don't, you're going to come back and do it again until you do. So you need a clear strategy for business. With the co-working space, we did. Each of us, we operated out of our strengths. Okay, Gloria, this is your strength. I have no problem asking people for money. So I was the person asking people for money. Saida was the business person. She was hardcore no at people. She kept us on budget. Andrella was the dreamer. She wanted to do everything that was impossible. We needed a strategy. How are we going to move this project forward? People, have I included the people to realize my dream? Now, if you want to make an impact, you're going to need a lot of people. You won't be able to do it by yourself. And as you lead yourself, that's really important. Sorry. You need to learn how to lead yourself in order to lead others. It will be the hardest thing you will ever do in business, working with other people, working with different personalities. It is hard. I think you guys work on some projects together in a group. Some people do a little more work than others. It's hard, trust me. But for the same grade, so you're like, okay, it's my grade too, so I have to work on, I have to do her part or his part. It happens because you need people in order to achieve your dream. And one thing that I want people to shift their mindset, you have to let people know that you need them. You have to let people know that you can't achieve it without them. Sometimes we think, oh, well, I won't let people know that I need them. Biggest mistake. Because it gives them accountability. When people know that you need them, it gives them accountability. Now, I'll tell you, I am a person, I like being on time. So when I'm gonna have a meeting with someone, I'm showing up 15 minutes early. And then, of course, we were a team of founders, co-founders. Anurla just always shows up late. And then just casually, and I'm having just all the anxiety. I'm stress eating, chronic stress, that's what we call it. Throughout this whole entire project, I had a lot of chronic stress because I like to be on schedule. When construction wasn't on schedule, that was a problem. We needed a lot of people to make it happen. We needed our investor we had to deal with, construction team, just volunteers. We couldn't have achieved it without them. This was some of the things that we needed our team to do. This picture was taken at 11 o'clock at night. I went home because I was exhausted. I came back. It was 7 a.m. and they were still there. Wow. Volunteers, they did it for free. Now, why would someone just come and give you their time for free? Because they believe in the vision that you have. They share that same passion. That's really important to have on your team. You want people who have the same passion that you do. 7, costs. Am I willing to pay the price for my dream? Are you willing to pay the price? Now, there are so many ways of paying the price. I talked to you a little bit earlier about me investing in myself after my father said, heck no, I'm not giving you money, right? That was monetarily priced. Sometimes you have to hire other people to teach you in order so you can learn how to do something quicker and you avoid making mistakes. But it's not only money. The cost comes in so many different ways. So for Anurla and I, we both have children. Now the cost for us was time with our families. We were FaceTiming our kids saying good night. She lived quite far. She lived about 40 minutes from the space. And we dropped off our kids at my parents' house when there was no school, it was break. And we just call them to say, good night, guys. We're not going to be able to tuck you in tonight. And this is my son and Anurla's. And poor Liam had a broken leg. Oh. And the entire time he had to be cared for. He couldn't even shower himself. He needed so much help, but this is what the cost is. What are you willing to give for your dream? Now, in order to know what you're willing to give, you need to know what you value. What are your values? And for how long are you willing to give of that? So this is a picture of Anurla. This is the space. Anurla and Saida both coming into the space to work their businesses. They started working their businesses, taking their meetings, bringing in their people. We wanted to be in the space all day long in order to get a feeling of what would that feel like, the different lighting. That's really important when you're designing a space, right? Usually you have a whole lighting, a designer specific to lighting. I studied architecture. You have interior, you have the building architecture, you have the lighting designer. so many different things. But we had to do everything ourselves. So we had to learn a lot. And this was a Nurella, figuring out how to make this thing go up and down and this lift because we couldn't pay somebody to do it. So we had to do it ourselves. But yes, time with family and friends, type of cost, dealing with criticism from other people. My goodness, we had so much criticism. People are like, how do you think you guys are going to do this? You don't have enough money to do it. You don't have enough time to do it. Do you really need to launch another business? People will tell you, are you crazy? What is the revenue that you think co-working spaces are having, right? The price of hard work, and we were exhausted. We worked, think about it. You have a full-time job. I also have kids. I have one. I'm working. I also have my son and his activities and everything. And then after that, off hours, we are coming together to build another business that benefits the community. So it's not like we were saying, oh yeah, we're doing this and then we're gonna make X amount of money. It was like, no, we don't know where the revenue is coming, but the community needs this, so we were doing it together. I love this picture. It was taken while we were taking our pictures, but is your dream really worth it? People think we were laughing. I think we were hysterical because we were so exhausted. I mean, the day of the grand opening, we left the space it was like 3:40 something a.m. That's after weeks of working all-nighters and getting home at 2. So I told him, if we didn't have the grand, we had nothing more to give. We were laughing because it was more like exhausted. But we were really reminiscing at that moment on the hard work that we had done, and that just the fact that we are finally here. But for me, it was also another dream of working with my sister. I've always been her sidekick. She's always been the person, the boss, and I'm like the person on the side. But it was just always our dream to do something together. We work together here and there. My company supports her a little bit with her team. She has getting quite a large team, but it was a dream of us to be able to do something together. Tenacity. Am I moving closer to my dream? Now you're gonna get knocked down so many times as you reach this specific goal that you have, this dream that you have. You're gonna get knocked down. And you have to find a reason. Now, your passion is your reason to keep going, but you have to have markers in your business to know, are you moving closer to that specific dream? That's why scheduling is important, right? It's easy to quit. If you don't have the passion, it's easy to quit. But when you have tenacity, you're like, I'm gonna get back up. I didn't get that funding that I needed. I'm gonna get back up. I hired a co-founder who disappointed me. And now I don't have somebody to do what I needed to do. We're gonna get back up. Now with the co-working space, many times we hired the guy for construction. He didn't do the work. Programs were failing. Or electrician, I don't know what wiring he did in that building. But it was days and we were still figuring out the electricity and the lighting in that building. And thank goodness for my architectural background, the first time I was so proud to say that I had one, I was able to put it to test. Now, for Anurella, that was a moment for her as well, because now she designs green spaces, but she's never done interior designing. And she's like, hey, when she was brought into this project before she became a co-founder, she just came as a consultant. She was going to support Saida and I. And she said, hey, I want to do this. Can you, Gloria, mentor me? And I'm like, what? You want me to mentor you while we're trying to build something? There's no way. She didn't know designing software. I was like, I don't know how you're going to do this. But mentally, I'm like, oh my goodness, how we're going to do this? When I thought she was going to do working with people, when I thought she was going to do the floor plan, the plan wasn't done. And I'm like, we can't open without a plan. So tenacity was really important in that moment. moving us closer. I'm like, we had specific markers that we needed to reach. Now, fulfillment. This is really big. Does working towards your dream bring satisfaction? And I want to change your moment for your mindset in this moment. A lot of us think that, oh, fulfillment is a destination. Once I reach my goal, I'll be fulfilled. How many of you think that? Fulfillment actually is the journey. Once you achieve it, okay, it's done. But fulfillment is the journey. Because anyone, I don't know if you've ever heard someone extremely successful talking, you're like, oh, what's your favorite part? They don't talk about the ending, they talk about the journey. The journey is what brings fulfillment. It's like, oh man, I don't know. I mean, with the co-working space, it's like we needed more money. We didn't know where to ask for more money. We were scared of Lewis. We were going to ask him for money. Figuring out that whole process brought fulfillment. I mean, later when we sit and we think about the amount of stress that we had, and the fact that we were able to achieve something, it brought us fulfillment. It's the up and down. And once you build through that, that's truly what's going to bring the fulfillment to you. It's not necessarily the ending. I think that's something that a lot of people make. And a quick story about it, I'm currently working with a young client. He's a 26-year-old, super successful. He started his business, built it to over $2 million in like 10 months. And he looks at me and he comes to coaching with me and he says, Gloria, I've achieved all this wealth. I'm flying here and I have access to private plane. I'm lacking fulfillment. And you're thinking about why? You've achieved so much. So fast forward is that he is teaching people to do exactly what he's doing for free. He's just doing it for free because he's figured out helping other people build something meaningful brings him fulfillment. So this is us. Look at this. We had to put all the furniture ourselves. And we were just being so funny in the process. I'm like, take a picture. You see, you can do hard things. We would meet with each other and Saida over there figuring things out. We had to rebuild that, by the way. Andrea in the back, putting the plants together. And the last, does my dream benefit others? That's where you want to go. That's where it has to benefit others. It can't just be all about you. Because if it doesn't benefit others, you don't make an impact. It's hard to make an impact with something that benefits just you. Your dream has to benefit others. And that's what makes it bigger than you. So for us, it was about building a culture where the desired behavior was the normal behavior. And you could see Saida actually wrote this. When community, passion, imagination, and self-confidence unites, anything becomes achievable. This picture, when I saw the space, I could see it. That was my dream. So when I stood there and I saw it, I'm like, wow, this was the vision that I had. It was providing a platform and exposure resources for business owners and community. This is Entreprenista. I don't know if you guys have heard of now. And then just a place where others can showcase, inspiring the next generation. This was truly just so meaningful to me. One, this is my son. It was so meaningful because he's been through my entrepreneurship journey. He knows he's always everywhere with me. He would have been here, but he has a test. He can't miss that test. But look at him. Someone posted this on Instagram and I took a screenshot. He was taking a picture of me and he says, Mama, I'm so proud of you. You're building something for the community. That's important. Because kids can be just brats sometimes. Means I'm doing a great job as a mother. But this is just Sophia who also came, but she said, I came to support you guys because I want my kids to be inspired. I want them to see that you have to give back to your community, which is important. So to me, I'm like, wow, that felt amazing, you know? So take today, what you can do today. You can take ownership of your dream. I think I'm quite boring because somebody's sleeping over there. But what you can do today is take ownership of your dream, right? Don't compare. Comparing yourself will kill your dream. Bet on yourself and go for it. Take a bet on yourself. I remember I went to ask someone for money and they said, Gloria, put the money yourself. Bet on yourself. Sometimes you have to. Bet on yourself. Lead your life. Without personal leadership, you can't lead others. Love what you do. You have to love it because a lot will come for you. Believe in your vision. Someone else can't believe the vision more than you do in order for you to achieve it. Success is what you can do for yourself. Significance is what you can do for others. And that's how you make an impact. It has to benefit others in the end. Now, this is the same 10-step: ownership, clarity, reality, passion, pathway, people, cost, tenacity, fulfillment, and significance. And here are the 10 questions if you guys want to screenshot or sure. I'm a note taker, so I like to be able to screenshot things. And thank you for inviting me. Questions?
Yeah, we're actually gonna have a Q&A session following the workshop, but for those of you who want to go ahead and scan the QR code, please feel free to scan the QR code. We are going to take a 15, we'll probably run into about 15-minute break. Let's try to be back in our seats at about 10-minute break. So about 10-minute break, so about 10:55. Let's be back in our seats, scholars. If you want to interact with Gloria during the break, please feel free to do so.
I mean, this time is for you. It's Q&A. If you need help with something, this is your time. There's a question that you have always been scared to ask anyone. This is your time. Go for it. No judgment. Yes.
So you mentioned earlier in your presentation, like you knew what the community needed. So my question is, how did you know that? Like,
So I knew what the community needed because I am in the community. I'm very active in the community. I knew that just from obviously, you know, when you're any business idea that you have, you go into research and you do surveys. And with my architectural background, of course, I knew, let me go to GIS, right? I'm going to pull up how many residents are here, how many people are working from home, how many entrepreneurs are there. So I knew where to find the data that I was looking for, but also I grew up in that community. I spent a lot of space there and I knew what was lacking. There are town hall meetings where you can learn things about your community. To know what are some of the things that they're struggling with, the government. But yeah, that's how you know. But another way that you know also is, let's say you're working towards something, what is the response that you're getting? So one thing that after the grand opening, we had the vice mayor brought us and they were so excited. They're like, wow, thank you so much for creating this. Now we want to give you money. And then now they want to give us a building to do something else, you know, to basically the same thing to bring into the space because they saw the value in the community. But yeah.
thank you.
So you mentioned about how if you're passionate about something, like it's not gonna feel like work. And I'm gonna give you a little like background on my mission so it makes sense. before I joined Larson, I wanted to become a graduate psychologist and like do research on how we can build better rehabilitation programs. I never thought about like making a business. I'm not like business oriented. So now that I joined Larson, I find myself getting like a little burned out. So like how do you like deal with that? If that makes sense.
So what is your question exactly? How to deal with burns out, getting
Like burned out or like you have something you're really passionate about, but maybe like you have to do something within that passion that doesn't, I don't know if that makes sense. Doesn't really like align. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you have a passion and you're working towards that passion, but there is something within it that doesn't align.
Yeah, with like me and like me wanting to like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, for one, if you're passionate about something, then it does align with what you're doing. I think what you need to get crystal clear is what you value, right? So yeah, I mean, we're working, I mean, with my company Flourish, work long hours sometimes, right? Sometimes I'm traveling with the co-working space. We have to put in a lot of time. But one, do I want to put that time in all and be exhausted? No, but I have the value that I wanted to bring. One, it's to bring something to the community. It's to give back, to serve. Service is one of my greatest, it's something that I truly value. So you have to know what you truly value and decide, okay, this is what I value. Here's my passion, and we're going to pair it up together. Right? Yes.
I wanted to ask, how long did it take since you quit architecture and till you founded your first business?
So I was in architecture for about 8 years. I honestly just cold turkey. I just got to the point where I just couldn't do it a single day, you know? And sometimes you might as well. If you're not passionate about something, there's no way of going through life, right? So I quit immediately after I had my son. And I think also that was just kind of like a moment of breakthrough. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm a mother. I want to be joyful about what I do, you know? So I quit immediately, and then I was like, wait, what? I need a job. So that's when I went and I worked as an executive assistant. And that's during that time, that was my goal. I'm like, I'm going to learn as much and try so many different things to figure out what it is that I'm passionate about. That answers the question? Yes.
I really resonate with your desire to create environments for people because
Yeah.
I used to want to study architecture too. And my question is, do you plan to stop at 490 Park or do you think you'll create more spaces like that?
I mean, we've gotten proposals from like public officials to come and do this because they want some things in their cities. So it all depends on, you know, like time constraint. Like I said, like we all have our different business venture. So if everything aligns and there's that opportunity, then we'll do it. But then again, the cost of doing business, right? Like, what am I willing to give up in order to do something, and is it worth doing it in that specific time frame? So it really is. I mean, I think with 490 Park, it just happened to be just the right moment, and we all said yes, which is why, like, when the opportunity just presents itself, just go for it. Don't waste time, because right now to say let's build something, my sister's traveling all over the world. There's no way that we're gonna say let's do something else. But also because it was so we put a lot of time and energy, like our time and energy, which is, you know, hard. Yeah.
We're saving time. We'll save one last question.
Okay.
You said that you have to let people know that you need them. How do you tell them, or like how do you get them to know that they need you? Or like you need them, that's what I meant.
Okay. How do you let people know that you need that?
By like talking, but like actually telling them that I need them.
Yeah.
That's simple.
That's simple. Hey, I need you and my team. This is the goal. Here's my vision. I need you in. Can you make it happen? I'm not taking no for an answer. Yeah, it's that simple.
Gloria, thank you so
Aw.
much. I think I speak for all of us when I say that this workshop was extremely enriching. As us being budding social entrepreneurs, I think being handed a blueprint to our dreams is such an invaluable thing. As a woman from the Caribbean and the daughter of an architect, I find you so inspiring the way you were able to forge your own path in such a meaningful field as well. And your point about people, Chelsea just mentioned it. I think that's such a valuable thing we need to take note of in this community. And speaking of this community at Watson, we do believe in protecting your courage. Thank you for protecting our courage with your, blueprint to our dreams. And in return, we would like to protect your courage with this key.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Aw.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we give it up for Gloria? And again, Gloria, again, we thank you so much for being here today. We're truly inspired by your journey. It's funny how in hearing your story, it's really cool to see how everything comes full circle, right? You creating spaces and opportunities for people to flourish and to lead and to be their best selves. So again, we thank you so much for gracing us today with your presence, and we look forward to future opportunities for you here at Watson Institute. Can we give it up one more time for Gloria? And scholars, with that, again, we would like to thank each and every one of you again for being here today. You all truly did an amazing job. Your presence and engagement. Thank you all so much. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event.